you're telling me, Chris, that it's better to get some of what you want than nothing and be dictated totally everything about your workplace?
It's better to have a say.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Now, Chris, let's turn to more general things about union negotiations. I mentioned this to you, and you said that you're good with it. We have a clip that Hershey's is showing to their employees in Virginia who are voting on whether or not to unionize here in the next month. And this is a video that talks about union negotiations, and so it's 6 minutes, so we're going to watch and react with you. Before we start, though, were you able to take a look at it before the show, and did you have any thoughts about it?
Yes, sir. I've seen something similar to that. When I worked for a company called Sunoco Products, we were trying to organize, and they played us a video of something similar, and it's disgusting, and everything in it is a lie. I don't know. It should be against the law for a company to play that to employees about unions, because it is not correct.
Amen.
Yep. Amen. Well, I think that's a good intro to it. So, Adam, let's go ahead and watch the clip.
All right.
Jamie's dad asks her where she wants to go for her birthday dinner. She suggests the pricey seafood restaurant with the all-you-can-eat platter. Dad isn't too concerned about the price, but he's allergic to shellfish. He suggests the nice steakhouse that has a few seafood options, but Mom isn't a big fan of either choice. She reminds everyone that Jamie's new braces have tightened up the family budget. They compromise and go to the Chinese buffet. Nobody is very happy with how things turned out. Welcome to the process of negotiation. Collective bargaining, the technical name for negotiating a union contract, brings the interests of three parties to the negotiating table.
Let's stop that right there really quick.
And the employees. Just like Jamie's birthday dinner negotiation. Each of these...
So, and if you could rewind it
Sure.
Before when we start back. The first thing that they do there is they show, they talk about that in negotiations there are going to be compromise. And this is presented as if it's like an argument against negotiations. Like what is the alternative to negotiating your contract as a worker? It's being told what it's going to be and getting less as a worker, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
That's just the idea that, okay, you're not going to get everything you want. Well, not getting everything you want is better than getting nothing that you want. I mean, it's absurd.
It's also like as if you've never had to compromise as an individual worker without a union. I mean, every job I've ever had, I had a hell of a lot of compromises on my part.
Yeah.
Way more than the boss made. So I feel like I'm not unique in that. It's weird to see negotiation being a scary or damning kind of process when there is no alternative there.
Yeah. The alternative is getting nothing. If you are not negotiating collectively, then you are getting what the boss gives you.
Well, now, hold on, Jacob. You could kiss a lot of rear and maybe you get in good with your supervisor and you can get something that everybody else doesn't get.
That's true.
That's left unsaid.
Yeah, but if you're a union, everybody gets their fair share, should be getting a fair share.
Right.
And I've been in that room where I get called, a non-union company, we get called in a big room. They tell us what your benefits are, what your raise is, and it's exactly what they think it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have a say. And now I have a say. And there's a difference. Right. And we're not trying to strip the company of everything that they earn We're not looking for that. We've never looked for it like that. We just want our fair share.
Right. And so you're telling me, Chris, that it's better to get some of what you want than nothing and be dictated totally everything about your workplace?
Well, it's better to have a say.
Yeah, I would say so. Let's go ahead and keep playing the clip.
Bargaining, the technical name for negotiating a union contract, brings the interests of three parties to the negotiating table: the union, the company, and the employees. Just like Jamie's birthday dinner negotiation, each of these three parties comes with a list of things they hope to get from the process.
Okay, let's stop right there. So, Chris, you just walked us through how you create, as the negotiating committee, how you create your list. But this video is trying to make it seem like the union is there's an implicit
Absolutely.
third partying of the union here. But the union is just the workers.
Absolutely. They're trying to divide the members. The prospective members, they're trying to divide them already. And in our group, this is the only union I've ever been in. The employees and the union are one and the same. We don't have, I'll be honest with you, our business rep, he's rarely in town. We deal with the company on grievances, we write our own grievances. And yes, if it gets to a certain level, it does have to go to the business rep and so on and so forth. If it goes to arbitration, of course, we have to deal with the business rep. But it's us, the technicians, the elected stewards, handling these issues. And even in negotiations, it's us. It's us five, launch site technicians. We're the one writing proposals. We're the one communicating with the members. And those surveys, that communication, that is what we're taking into negotiation. And that video, like I said, it should be against the law for them to play videos like this to prospective bargaining unit members.
Yeah, it's totally disgusting. Let's keep playing it.
Collective bargaining is the story of these three lists. The best way to understand collective bargaining is to consider where these three lists come from and to look at what happens to the items on those lists during negotiations. One is the employee's wish list. These are the things they told the union organizer they want to be different about their jobs. This list might include things like more pay and better benefits, work schedules, and even things like job security and workload. To get workers excited about all the possibilities with collective bargaining, the organizers ask workers to make the list of the things they want. This is a sales tactic intended to make workers feel like they will be in control and to believe they will get everything on their wish list.
Okay,
I'm anticipating eagerly how the employer handles this.
Right.
I'm just curious how the employer gets the input of the employees and their wish list. And surely it wouldn't be just a sales tactic.
Yeah. No union member or union organizer or anybody in any union is going to tell you that unionizing is going to get you every single thing that you want for. Like, I'm not going to go and tell somebody that is looking to unionize, like, anything that you want, you can get it, and you can get it on your first contract. Like, that's not how it works, and nobody is saying that's how it works. But you can get some of it.
List, every employee in every job has that list, and it's just not realistic to go after stuff like that. So, as being on the negotiating committee, I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, get us more vacation time. Get us, younger people come. Hey, get us topped out faster." Of course, you try to work those things into the contract, but there are other language issues that has to be worked in as well. And as a negotiating committee, like I said, we prioritizing and we communicate that priority with the people. It's not just us five guys on the committee saying we're going to do this and do that without communicating. No, we have a plan. We communicate that plan with the body, and that's how we move forward in negotiation.
Right. And then, even as a last resort, if for some reason the workers who elected you and the workers who participated in the survey, and the workers who helped you prioritize, if for some reason they get the contract back and they don't agree with the prioritization, they can always vote it down and tell you to go back and redo it.
Absolutely, and that's our thing. If you do not like, at the end of the day, when you go vote, and I know whatever the negotiating committee decide, people still have that choice when they go vote, just like any election. Mm-hmm. If you don't like it, vote no. I've done it. I voted on contracts after being told, hey, you should vote for this, because there was something in there that I did not like. I mean, as far as them trying to take seniority rights away. They do little things to do that. Them making us pay more for health insurance. They do little things, that people don't realize they're doing it by giving you a raise here, but then increasing medical costs here. Well, that's a pay cut. And you got to take a look at this. Other things in there besides that little punch list this company put up there for us to look at. It's just a lot more.
Right. I mean, if the folks get the contract back and they disagree with you, you ain't got a gun pointed to their head. they can vote the opposite way that you recommend, and that's fine.
Absolutely.
Nobody's going to come after them. Nobody's going to tell them they can't be a member of the union. And if they if they have enough of a campaign around it, they can vote. The membership can vote the contract down, and you can go back to the table.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead.
And if they're still salty about it, you know what? They can vote for new people to run for office. They can vote for new people to be on the committee.
They can do it. Yeah. They can run themselves.
I mean,
it'd be easier to win one of those elections than win a political election. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I think all three of us have had conversations with members where, the members with the loudest complaints and gripes, it's like, hey, you're going to be on the committee now.
Yeah.
Clearly, you're very passionate. You've got the energy here. You care about this, so appreciate your complaints. Now you get to be on the committee and address it.
Yep. Let's go ahead.
Never have to worry about it.
There you go. Let's keep going with the
company's list will focus on retaining flexibility and controlling costs.
Okay, hold on. The company's list is going to focus on retaining flexibility and lowering costs.
I wonder
what
whose
that means.
That comes.
Yeah. I wonder what the English translation of that is. The English translation of that is less protections on the job for workers and lower wages. And higher healthcare costs for the workers. That's the English translation for that new speak there.
Even if there are no changes to pay and benefits, a union will increase the costs of running its business. These new costs include things like legal expenses, lost management time for bargaining, contract administration, handling grievances, and time spent on union business.
Okay, let's stop right there just really quick. They mentioned that a loss of business is going to be handling grievance, even if there's no pay or benefit increases. You only get a grievance if you violate the contract. I mean, you're not, just follow the contract and you're not going to have any problems with your employees.
And if it's a frivolous grievance that an employee has filed, well, guess what?
It's not going to take long to win.
It will not take long. You probably don't even have to pay your lawyers to handle it.
Yeah.
That is such BS. I mean, and every one of those issues involves workers being able to address issues on the job site. So the alternative, again, is to have no method of addressing any issues. If you're being harassed on the job, if you're being cheated out of overtime pay, if you've been denied vacation time, oops, deal with it. Wouldn't want to spend company time on a grievance. That's just so
follow the contract, you won't have to worry about it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I
have a list of proposals to make sure that it continues to manage the business, to maintain quality, take care of customers, and respond to changing business conditions so it can remain competitive and provide good jobs. Most companies insist on a management rights clause to confirm the union will not contest the company's right to make all decisions related to operations of the business. Things like staffing, products, work processes, and others.
I'm just going to stop it here to say, and I'm not trying to put any union down by any means, but I personally don't think we even should give them those rights. If the workers are the ones creating the value of the company, if it is their labor that creates the profits of the company, then I don't think it's unreasonable that they should also have some say so in the operations.
Right.
And now I'm not trying to say that, our machinist brothers and sisters are trying to tell them how to build the rockets necessarily or how many rockets. I get that. But the fact that that's even taken as a given in our country is pretty extreme, really. If you start to think about it, why shouldn't we have some say so in operations and staffing?
Right.
Who else knows when you're short-staffed but the people on the line dealing with it, having to pick up the slack?
But even given that, again, what is the alternative? The alternative to a management rights clause where the employer has the total say over what to produce and when to produce and how much and hiring and these sorts of things is that they get total say over everything.
Right. Yeah. The management rights are
management rights are everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Chris, you feel free to tell them to stop as well if there's something that you want to a point that you want to make.
No, you guys are 100% right. They don't know staffing needs. They mismanage so much. They would be better to let the technician, and I'm just speaking for ULA, we know the production aspect, not an HR leader that sits in the office, who doesn't want to communicate with nobody out on the floor, but he or she wants to make decisions from an office and makes things worse. And that's how grievances get written.
Yeah.
Right.
So management rights sucks.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and I mean, I think you said that you're speaking for ULA. I think that you can pretty confidently say you speak for any workplace because every workplace that I've ever worked at, the people who do the work know better how much people need to be there to get the work done. And to get the work done in a timely and quality manner. I think that that's a pretty ubiquitous complaint. I mean, that's a huge reason that we're seeing so many people in healthcare unionized right now is because their boss either has no idea how many nurses you need to actually staff a hospital and staff it well, or they don't care. They don't care at all, and they just want profits. And I'm inclined towards the latter. But either way, there's a huge staffing problem in healthcare right now, and that's a big reason that, management rights suck.
The third list is the unions. Before we get to this list, it is important to remember how a union changes the relationship between the workers and their company. If a union is voted in, the union becomes the exclusive representative of the employees to the company. The union will try to negotiate a contract with the company. Although workers may be asked to approve or reject a contract, the contract is between the union and the company, not between the company and the employees. The union's top priorities are important to understand.
Well, who the hell is the contract for then?
Yeah, do you any comments on that, Chris?
Like I said, total ridiculous. I mean, the employees and union, they're the same thing. It is in Decatur, and it is in Vandenberg, and it is in the Cape.
What does it even mean if the contract is between the union and the employer? Oh, but workers have total say to vote the contract down. I mean, what is it? What kind of nonsense is that, Eve?
It just doesn't follow.
Right.
I think it's one of those where they just try to barrage you.
I mean, at the same
stuff that hopes some of it sticks in your brain.
Along the same lines, we could say that the corporation, we can use ULA as an example. Oh, well, ULA as a corporation is getting between me and my relationship with Tony Bruce or whatever the hell his name is, the CEO of ULA. ULA is because ULA is this corporate entity in the same way that the union is the organized group of workers. You know, we wouldn't say that ULA is getting between me and my relationship with the boss. That's nonsense. ULA is the boss.
Yeah, I tell you what, as a school teacher, I had assistant principals getting in the way of me talking to my principal, who got in the way of me talking to HR, who got in the way of me talking to deputy superintendents, who got in the way of me talking to the superintendent. Oh, and, by the way, we couldn't talk to the school board members who put the superintendent in there. So, yeah, don't give me this crap about the union coming in between anybody. And you know what? And like you say, Chris, you can testify to how it is in Decatur. If it's not that way in your union, in your environment, then that's an issue for you to organize around and to make your union better and make it as democratic as it needs to be for you and your brothers and sisters. It's not a reason to just throw out your union or unionization overall.
Because even in the most undemocratic unions, you still elect your local president.
Right, it's still more democratic than a non-union workplace. Even a mediocre or a bad union is generally going to be better than none at all.
You always elect your local officers and you never elect your boss. And for me, I mean that's the end of the discussion. That, you know, you have control, even if maybe it's not optimal, even if maybe it's not as much as you would want. You know, there obviously, because unions are human institutions, humans are flawed. There's going to be flawed iterations, and there's going to be flaws in every union, and so you can always make it better. But the fundamental thing is, you elect your local officers, you get to approve or not approve your contract, and you don't get to elect your boss. You don't get to, and in a non-union workplace, you don't get to have any say in your working conditions. And so, you know, that's it as far as I'm concerned. But let's keep going with the clip.
Union is a business. It must protect its own interests. The union's interests have nothing to do with what workers want. To make money, the union collects money from its members. To make sure it gets paid, the union will propose a dues checkoff clause. This clause means union dues or fees are deducted from workers' paychecks, just like taxes. The union will also ask for
and charitable contributions and any number of other things that you can do at just about any damn workplace. You can put money in a college savings account out of your paycheck. You can put money to United Way out of your paycheck. Any place I'm familiar with that did offer payroll deduction for union dues, that's the way it was. So, you know, it's not some, you know, far-fetched idea or some kind of special little privilege.
And as if it's even like a difficult thing to implement.
Right.
Like it's not.
It's not. It's not. As someone who was kind of involved in that for school districts.
The way I explain it to people, if the dues come up, we got organizing, we got education that's available to all our members. We do community outreach. Our dues pay for those things. Our dues pay for getting prepared for strikes. Our dues pay for getting training for negotiations. Those things are important. Without those things, we would not be able to do nothing that we're going to do here in 30 days. And that is sit down and negotiate a good contract between the company and our brothers and sisters to continue to be Rockets. If we didn't have those dues, you would not be able to do this. Simple as that.
That's right.
For super seniority, so its leaders are the last people to get laid off, regardless of their skill or time employed. The union will also ask that its
let's
leaders be
stop
given
on the super seniority. Super seniority, and I was talking to David about this. For one, again, its leaders, the union's leaders, are elected. Okay, so if you don't want somebody having super seniority, you can give it. You can vote to give it to somebody else. But super seniority seems to me, and David even disagreed with me a little bit, because he doesn't. David is the local president. He doesn't have super seniority, and I think that it would not be unreasonable for the local president and for the stewards to have super seniority, because I could imagine a scenario where a boss is really going after the union's leadership. But look,
having
here,
had that happen to me
Right.
personally as a member of a bargaining team and executive board, it absolutely can result in retaliation. And it seems like common sense that if you're in a position that can be adversarial with the company, it shouldn't have to be, but it can be, or you're in a position where you're advocating,
you're fighting for your
employees.
coworkers.
You're right.
You should have maybe some extra protection. But here's the kicker. I mentioned that David disagreed with me a little bit on this, and they don't have super seniority. The machinists they don't bargain for super seniority for anybody except the negotiating team, because the negotiating team is the people that interpret the contract, and so they need those folks around, and so they don't have super seniority for stewards or the local president. I mean, can you speak a little bit to that, Chris?
I think we do have super seniority for stewards.
Okay, gotcha.
We do. But let me throw this out here. I'm on a negotiating committee. I've been a steward. If that's what you're doing this job for, you don't need to do this job, because it is a lot of work. And I'll be honest with you, if there was a layoff and it got to me on the seniority list, I don't think I could live with myself that I would stay and let somebody with higher seniority be laid off and I stay. I would not be able to do that. And I think a lot of my brothers and sisters that's on these committees would feel the same way, even though it would hurt. You know, like I said, harvest is plenty, labor is a few. We don't have many people working within the union. We need to have everybody in there. Somebody else will step up. But to me, getting laid off out of seniority, that's not what we're about. That I struggle with that.
Right. But here again, you know, because your priorities are given by, you know, that's not something that the union has to bargain for. If the members are really against having super seniority, guess what? They can vote for a contract that doesn't have that. They can vote for a negotiating team that knows that that's not a priority of the membership, and that's again because they want to. The bosses want to make you believe that the union is a third party, that the union is different from the workers,
and
that's
they have
not
this
true.
like set formula that they apply to every kind of industry, every kind of workplace, and that's just so not true.
Yeah, I mean, this video is being shown to Hershey's workers, and it's not even a special video for Hershey's workers. It's literally a Labor Relations Institute stock video. That's not, you know, you'll notice that they don't mention Hershey and they don't mention BCTGM because it's a generic union video. They don't even have that. They didn't even pay for the premium package to get their own video made. I mean, this is just like bottom of the barrel stock stuff here.
Like I said, I saw this probably about 25 years ago, or something. Well,
Something
they
like
actually had
this,
real
yeah.
people. It wasn't animated.
Yeah, and we've shown some clips. Was it from Lowe's or Home Depot one that was similar to this? And you know, I'm glad you mentioned though that you saw it that long ago, because I think if you look at some of the media coverage of the more recent union fights, and especially some of the egregious stuff that Amazon is doing, you would kind of walk away thinking, "Oh man, where did this come from?" But as long as there have been unions, there has been union busting by the company. And, you know, these kinds of videos are not brand new. These did not just come out in the last year or two. They've been doing this stuff as long as people have been trying to organize. And they've been doing a lot worse, too, than showing you videos.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Time off work for union business. In states without a right to work law, the union will demand that it can require the company to fire any worker who fails to pay dues or a similar fee. Now we get to the nitty-gritty.
I'm sorry to pause it again, but I do want to make sure that folks understand, especially those of you who maybe don't belong to a union, what they're talking about here is an agency fee, and agency fee is not a dues payment. you are basically reimbursing the cost to the union that is provided in terms of the services you get.
Right.
In other words, you don't have to belong to the union, but you still work under the contract that they spent their money and resources to negotiate for you and your other employees. And, they may also have to provide some degree of representation for you if you are being fired, if you are being suspended, whether you're a member or not, depending on, of course, all this stuff varies by workplace and industry and union, but, of course, agency fees have already been banned for the public sector with the Janus Supreme Court. So teachers and firefighters, other public sector employees, it doesn't even apply to them anymore. But frankly, it was never as bad of a thing as they've made it out to be.
Right.
Because if you're paying, if the union is spending their dues dollars to negotiate a contract and to provide representation to employees, and you get to benefit from that without even being a member, you trying to take a free ride here, that's not an unreasonable ask that you have to pay a smaller fee than the dues amount to try to reimburse for the cost.
And you'll notice that they said the union will ask that. That doesn't mean the employer has to, the state isn't coming in here and saying that, you have to, the boss has to agree to an agency fee clause. And because the union is the workers, if the workers at a certain workplace feel really strongly that they don't want to require people to pay an agency fee, they don't have to. And that's democratic.
Right.
It's like, if the workers don't want to do that, then they don't have to. And if you, if you don't like paying an agency fee, there's a lot of non-union workplaces that you can go and work at. So,
you
try to encourage them to go.
Yeah,
exactly. And the thing is, it's just like the seniority and the other issues there. It all depends on what the workers themselves want. When it's in a union environment, workers actually have input. And if the input's inadequate, they have the opportunity to organize to make that input adequate. And I think that is such a key difference here because non-union workplaces, nobody's asking for your opinion about seniority, about who gets laid off when. Nobody's asking your opinion about any of this. One of the things we've heard a lot about in terms of anti-union arguments, and I ran into someone the other day at work who said, unions are cool. I like unions. They've done a lot of good things. But the bad thing is, everybody has to be equal. And, hard workers get paid the same as lazy workers. And, okay, again, you as the workers in a union have the opportunity to organize around whatever your priorities may be. And if if you're in a situation where maybe there's a reason for you to have some kind of performance metrics or some kind of incentives, whatever is right for you and your colleagues.
Right. That's something you can bargain for.
That's what you can work for. So, it's just a mistake to generalize like that and assume, well, that's just the way it is with a union. Well, no, it's not. It's the way it is with non-union workplaces that you're not going to get any damn opinion at all. Well, you can have opinions. Excuse me. You can have an opinion. Doesn't mean it's going to count for anything.
Yeah.
Negotiation process.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm sorry. The leadership and the accountability part of it keeps getting glossed over too, passed over. As stewards and leaders, we can hold each other accountable because we're in this selected group.
Right.
And we do have scabs that, people that ain't paying dues that have the audacity and have no issue when something happened and they need a steward, have no issue coming to the leadership to come help them, and it ain't right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to get on that soapbox.
I'm glad you mentioned the accountability part because, again, even in a less than ideal union situation, there is a level of accountability there that you do not get for your management and you don't even get for your government, frankly. Right. If you're a member of a local, you have more opportunity to vote out, bad or mediocre leaders in your union than you'll ever have to vote out crappy school board members or city council members. Your vote's going to your vote's going to carry more, and you're going to have more of an opportunity to make a difference, as opposed to whichever candidate gets the most donations.
Yeah.
Where these three lists get hashed out. The company and the union sit down at the bargaining table, each with its list of proposals. As the two parties negotiate, the union will fight first and hardest for the items it must have to be successful as a union. Dues checkoff, union security if legal, super seniority, etc. The company will fight first and hardest for what it requires to be successful as a business, such as the flexibility to run the business efficiently and control costs, and a management rights clause to minimize union interference. What about the list of things the employees wanted, the things the union organizers promised they would deliver? The union will try to get some of these items too, but when push comes to shove, union negotiators have the exclusive authority to give these things up to get what the union needs. The most important thing to remember is that there are no guarantees in collective bargaining. There is no guarantee the parties will ever reach a contract. Employees could get more, they could get less, or they could end up with the same deal they had before the union got in and have a new obligation to pay money to the union. And what about the things unions like to talk about when they need workers' support?
I'm just going to stop it there to say if the workers end up with less, okay, obviously that's a problem for the union, but also the employer clearly asked for that, right? I mean, it's like they kind of pretend they're not even part of this whole process. If wages go down in your next contract, well, I mean, the union,
Whose fault is that?
Right, that wasn't the union's idea. Right? I mean, clearly the company pushed for that. So it's a really interesting way of like deflecting blame.
And, you know, they were mentioning, they talked about how, the union is going to fight first and hardest for dues checkoff and, you know, maybe higher wages get left off. As if, like, just because it takes 2 bullet points to say, one, dues checkoff, 2, higher wages. As if because it takes up the same amount of space on paper that it requires that it's even remotely equal. Like, dues checkoff is nothing. Like, that's, a company will agree to that, and it's not, there's no issue there. It doesn't cost them anything. It's just good administration.
And if they are giving you a hard time about that, then clearly they're just trying to screw with the union and hurt their membership intentionally. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with y'all. This will be my 4th contract, and it's not a big an issue. Our dues are calculated, 2 hours of pay, on average. It's not a big issue.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Things like dignity and respect. Neither party is even required to discuss these, and you won't find either in union contracts. Unions want you to believe
Okay, hold on. So you're not going to find, it is probably true that you're not going to find, quote, dignity and respect in a union contract. But, like, that wouldn't even mean anything. Like, dignity and respect, Article 4, Section 5. Like,
right, that's not really...
That's not... What we mean when we say we should have dignity and respect on the job is that we should have policies that make the employers, that make the bosses, that make the managers treat us with dignity and respect, like job security, like a grievance procedure when a boss harasses us, like, appropriate time off when we need time off, like for sick leave and things like that. That's what dignity and respect means. It doesn't mean that I want the boss to sign on the dotted line like Jacob has dignity. Like, screw that. I don't care. That doesn't matter. I want the things that dignity means.
And notice they didn't. Again, they're kind of putting themselves separate from this process. They're the employer. Should they wish to treat their employees with dignity and respect, by all means, they have every right to do so. Mm-hmm. Putting abstract values in contract language is not the same as actually doing it.
Right.
Workers have power. That if the company doesn't agree to the union's demands, the union can call a strike. And that can happen. But if you strike for economic reasons, which is what collective bargaining is all about, you can be permanently replaced. Unions often threaten companies with strikes during negotiations, but in many cases, Unions will also use the threat of a strike against its members to pressure them to accept a contract the members don't want. But why would a union pressure its members to make a bad contract? The truth is, the union is the only party that must get a contract to get paid. The company is in business and has the opportunity to make a profit. The workers have jobs and receive paychecks. But without a contract, the union gets nothing.
So let's stop
The
there.
key question for workers.
They're talking about strikes as if this big scary union boss from halfway across the country is going to come and tell you that you have to strike. Oh, there are going to be risks when you take a strike, and that's why it's important. And like Chris, I'm sure that when y'all have your strike meetings, there are discussions about the pros and cons, and people are weighing the risks of going on strike, right? That's not a decision that your union or that any union would make lightly, right?
Our next union meeting, March 26th, and that's a week before we leave to go negotiate. That's going to be a hopefully a wrap. If those when the survey discussions will come into place, the communications on where we are on our proposals, there'll be many discussions between now and that vote, so everybody can make a good decision. And once again, the negotiating committee, the 5 guys, we will have a recommendation, and it's not, it's not going to be easy. I don't take it lightly that if I got to come back and tell a group of people that I work with, friends of mine, we need to go on strike, because I know how it affects their family. Mm-hmm. But it's not our business rep or the president of the IAM coming down and say, hey, y'all don't need to go, or y'all need to go on strike. It's going to be the employees. We're the union. We make that call.
Right. And why is a strike effective? A strike is effective because y'all are the people that actually do the work. And so that can push a company to give you more of the things that you want. It's going to hurt a little bit in the short term, and but in a lot of cases, it can get you a really big benefit. And of course, because it's going to hurt in the short term, that's why you have those discussions. That's why you have those meetings. That's why there are going to be hard conversations about the pros and cons. And like, is this short-term hurt? Is it worth what we think we can get? How much do we think that we can get from a strike? Those are all conversations that workers have amongst themselves before they make the decision to strike. And so,
Absolutely.
Is what might the union give up in negotiations to make sure it gets paid? Collective bargaining is about 3 lists, 2 wish lists, and a union's absolutely must-have list. In the end, there are only 3 possible outcomes. You might get more, you might stay the same, or you might end up with less. And if the union gets what it wants, you will have to pay. Is that worth the roll of the dice?
Don't gamble with your future, they say.
Yeah, I mean, I would. It's very funny because this is something that they always say in every single no matter what the subject is, almost, if you hear a boss talking to you about how unions are bad, they'll say, you might get more, you might get the same, you might get less. I would pay good money if they showed me a single union contract that is worse than those employees had before they got it. Because there is never a standard contract, because this anti-union industry, it's a $1 billion industry. There are hundreds of these law firms, each of these fancy lawyers making thousands of dollars per day. If there was a single union contract that they could point to where it was unambiguous that the workers got less than they had before they unionized, they would be trotting it out every single time, and they don't have it because it doesn't exist. It's not real.
It doesn't exist. I can see.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
We took concessions. I'm sorry. We've took concessions on several contracts, but what we've gained, we gain. And if we don't look like we gaining, we strike. Right. Bottom line.
And that's even and that's, you're taking concessions from your last union contract. You're not taking concessions from before you unionized. It's always been better than before it was organized, or that's taking concessions from one contract to another is a totally different thing. Maybe or
at the hands of bankruptcy court,
or at the hands of bankruptcy court,
like our
right?
brothers and sisters in Brookwood, where that played a role in the contract and the problems they have with their contract.
But that's totally different than saying, "Oh, you unionized and then you got a worse contract." They don't have that contract because it doesn't exist.
No.
So
one time I heard a salary person. He was talking about healthcare insurance, and he said he made a statement. It was around contract time. He said that if we wasn't organized, our insurance would be cheaper than theirs. And I asked him how much his costs right now, and what he had, which our salary people are not organized, was costing more than what I had. So I said, how does that make sense? And it didn't make sense. Yeah. We are in a better position because we are organized labor. Simple as that.
Yeah. Chris, thank you very much for your time tonight. I really appreciate it. Do you have any closing thoughts before we let you go?
No, I appreciate the time. Again, like I said, my name is Chris Mullins. Anybody can contact me, and if they got questions on this, I do the best I can. And I appreciate the time you guys gave me today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.